October 5th, 1887. Juana has left here mad and distressed. She was hanging some clothes on the line when here came Jack home with Blue Horse and some other fellow I hadn't met yet. When she laid eyes on Blue Horse, she looked scared and mad at once and said to me she wouldn't work in a house where his tribe stepped. I tried and tried to ask her what happened and why she was so mad at him. She said only that their people had been enemies since the sun gave birth to the earth, and she would be always ashamed if she even looked on his shadow. Now I was purely confused. I had no idea that some Indians didn't like each other. Jack said it's true. That is why Blue Horse will help the soldiers against the Apache. To him, the U.S. Army is just reinforcements sent by strong spirits to fight his enemies. I had a little appointment with a bank clerk this morning. I wore a brown calico let out in the middle and a straw bonnet, and I had patched the hole in my apron with a brand new pocket, so it looked as good as new. But altogether, I was not too fancy looking, because I figured that walking through this town with a Colt revolver in one pocket and $500 in the other, it wouldn't be smart to look too prosperous. Inside the bank building, there were a few men in black suits and vests, wearing little stiff collars. I went to one of the windows and introduced myself, and after I told the man what I wanted to do, he had the gall to sniff in my face and tell me to let my husband handle my money and not trouble myself with the confusion of it all. "Oh," I said, "how confusing is it? If it makes you confused, I surely don't want this bank holding my $500. Well, he perked right up and said, "$500? Mrs. Elliot, I believe we can be of service to you after all." "I doubt it," I told him. "I made this money with the sweat of my brow and the labor of my hands, and I've got the rawhide to prove it. I don't intend to leave it with any man that thinks money is confusing." He puckered up his face kind of nervous and said, "Oh, I assure you, ma'am, we are not the slightest bit confused about money. We have a 1,500-pound safe," he says, "completely 100% theft-proof." He had a way of talking like I haven't heard since Mrs. Hoover left us the stake money from her wagon and took the train to Boston. "I've seen a safe blow up on a train," I said back. "We offer 1.9% interest annually," he said. I stood up. "Well," I told him, "I can turn this around in supplies and stock and see about 25% on cattle as long as there's no drought, and 115% on soap, more if there is a drought. It's a little at a time, but it comes right in, steady as a clock. In case that's confusing to you, mister, it's called profit. Thank you for your time and good day." I left him there with his mouth opening and closing, and I was madder than a wet hen. Eastern fellows come out here and think they've got money, so they've got all the answers, when all they've really got is soft, mushy hands and a black suit and a scratchy neck collar holding them together. I'd as soon deal with that bandito on the road. He was a lot more honest.